Chicago, a city renowned for its vibrant culture, also harbors a darker side where unimaginable incidents unfold regularly. With a staggering number of murders remaining unsolved, the unpredictability of life in the city becomes starkly evident. As 40-year-old Sorel Marshall and a 20-year-old woman walked back to his apartment, little did they know their evening would take a terrifying turn. The quiet night was shattered by the sudden appearance of a gray sedan, its occupants radiating an aura of menace. Among them were three figures: Terrence Hogan, Khalil Powell, and Kamari Belmont, better known as THF Bob-O. With alarming speed, Hogan and Belmont sprang from the vehicle, their intentions clear and malevolent. A gun materialized, as the two men wasted no time in targeting the woman's belongings. Her and Marshall were held at the mercy of the robbers. Bold and unflinching, Belmont rifled through the woman's coat pockets, snatching valuables with callous efficiency. An iPhone, a charger, an Old Navy credit card, and wallet, all seized in an instant, leaving the victim stunned and vulnerable. Meanwhile, Terrence Hogan brandished the semi-automatic pistol, its menacing presence a stark warning to Marshall, daring him to resist. Yet, in the face of danger, Marshall found himself at a crossroads. Pride warred with reason as he weighed his options, the pressure of the moment bearing down upon him. In a fateful instant, he made a decision that would alter the course of the encounter. Marshall found himself outnumbered and unarmed, facing the ominous threat of the semi-automatic pistol wielded by Terrence Hogan. With adrenaline coursing through his veins, Marshall's instincts kicked in, and he moved to push the pistol away in a desperate attempt to defend himself. However, his efforts were met with swift and deadly force as Terrence Hogan pulled the trigger without hesitation. The crack of gunfire shattered the night air, and Marshall felt searing pain as bullets tore through his groin and leg. The sheer brutality of the attack left him reeling, his body racked with agony. An autopsy later revealed the extent of the damage. Marshall had been struck 6 times, each bullet a testament to the ruthlessness of his assailants. As Marshall lay wounded and bleeding, his attackers wasted no time in fleeing the scene, their failed robbery attempt leaving chaos and destruction in its wake. Khalil Powell sprang into action as the designated getaway driver, his foot heavy on the accelerator as they made their escape in the gray sedan. But Marshall was not about to become just another statistic. Fueled by sheer determination, anger, and a primal urge to survive, he defied the odds and rose to his feet, his body trembling with pain but his spirit unbroken. In a moment of sheer defiance, he hurled himself onto the hood of the fleeing car, trying to stop his attackers. However, his bravery was met with further violence as Terrence Hogan, cold and remorseless, shot him a final time. Marshall slid from the hood, his strength waning but his will to live burning bright. The following hours were a blur of pain and uncertainty as Marshall fought for his life in the cold confines of the hospital. Surgeons worked tirelessly to repair the damage wrought by the merciless assault, but despite their best efforts, Marshall's injuries proved too severe to overcome. Yet, against all odds, Marshall had managed to cling to life with a tenacity that defied comprehension. He was a fighter, surviving the night, and unlike many shooting victims, he lived another 3 weeks. He battled with every fiber of his being, a testament to his strong human spirit. But ultimately, the wounds inflicted upon him proved insurmountable, and Marshall slipped away, his untimely demise a grim reminder of the senseless violence that plagued Chicago streets. As the night of terror unfolded, the trio of criminals seemed hell-bent on a path of chaos and destruction, their greed driving them to commit 2 more brazen robberies. In their relentless pursuit of small amounts of money, they callously victimized more people. With ruthless efficiency, Terrence Hogan and Kamari Belmont targeted unsuspecting individuals, seizing belongings from defenseless victims. They left a trail of fear and devastation in their wake. These subsequent robberies, occurring mere miles from the first, served as a chilling reminder of the criminals' audacity and lack of regard for human life. It became painfully evident that the 3 perpetrators were operating with reckless abandon, unconcerned with the consequences. Their brazen acts of violence, committed in close proximity to one another, hinted at a disturbing disregard for the presence of law enforcement. Rather than retreating into the shadows after their initial botched robbery, they seemed emboldened by the chaos they had unleashed, driven by a dangerous combination of adrenaline and greed. Kamari Belmont leveled a revolver at a 38-year-old man. With ruthless efficiency, he pillaged the man's wallet and phone. But, during this robbery, the victim's companion managed to escape, fleeing down the street in a frenzied pursuit for help. In a stroke of luck, the victim stumbled upon a police car, heart still pounding with a mixture of fear and relief. With the aid of an iPhone app to track the stolen phone's location, the digital breadcrumbs resulted in the tracking of the robbers to the 500 block of West 43rd Street. With swift precision, officers were dispatched to apprehend the suspects. As they closed in on the suspect's sedan, tension hung thick in the air, every moment tense with the possibility of violence. In a dramatic showdown, the trio of robbers emerged from the car, their faces twisted with defiance and desperation. Terrence Hogan, his hand clenched around a pistol, stared at the officers, his body language a testament to the danger that lurked within. But when confronted by the unwavering resolve of law enforcement, the facade of bravado crumbled, giving way to a frantic struggle for survival. In the chaos that ensued, Hogan made a reckless move, lunging at an officer with reckless abandon. In a heartbeat, the sound of gunfire shattered the stillness, the crack of bullets tearing through the air like thunder. Despite sustaining injuries to both his arm and chest, Hogan managed to evade capture, disappearing into the night. Yet, even in his absence, the evidence against him and his cohorts seemed to mount, with victim belongings being found in the car. In the aftermath of the confrontation, Kamari Belmont and Khalil Powell were apprehended, their reign of terror brought to a decisive end. But for Terrence Hogan, he managed to evade capture for a short amount of time. Ultimately, he was arrested at a nearby hospital. As the wheels of justice began to turn, the full extent of the trio's activities became painfully clear. A loaded 9mm handgun, its capacity for destruction chillingly evident, was discovered at the scene, a stark reminder of the deadly consequences of their actions. The fate of Kamari Belmont hung in the balance, a tangled web of bureaucratic missteps and legal maneuverings threatening to derail the pursuit of justice. Despite the gravity of the charges leveled against him, Belmont found himself at the center of a legal quagmire, one that would ultimately reshape the case. In a stunning turn of events, first-degree murder charges against Belmont were dropped, sending shockwaves through the halls of justice and leaving many questioning the integrity of the legal system. The reason? A glaring oversight on the part of Cook County prosecutors, whose mishandling of the case resulted in a missed deadline for trial, a blunder that would have far-reaching consequences. The crux of the matter lay in a state statute, which stipulated that a defendant in custody must be brought to trial within a specified timeframe following a demand for trial. Belmont, exercising his legal rights, had made such a demand on April 15, 2016, setting the wheels of justice in motion. However, as many months passed and the case languished in legal limbo, it became apparent that crucial deadlines had been overlooked, casting doubt on the integrity of the entire proceedings. A litany of continuances, 12 in total, had been granted, stretching from May 2015 to January 2017, each one pushing the trial further into the murky depths of legal ambiguity. Cook County prosecutors, tasked with upholding the law, had faltered in their duty, with case mishandling paving the way for Belmont's unexpected freedom. Charges against Belmont were officially dropped, leaving him to face only the robbery charges that had initially landed him behind bars. A palpable sense of injustice hung heavy in the air, as Belmont's fate remained uncertain amidst the swirling chaos of the legal system. A judge set his bond at $100,000 for the second robbery, a sum that had his friend post 10% to secure his release the following month. Yet, for Belmont, the taste of freedom was bittersweet, overshadowed by the looming specter of danger that lurked in the shadows. He was eager to make it to his daughter's birthday party. To those who knew him, Belmont was more than just a robber. He was a father, a friend, a neighbor, whose kindness and humor endeared him to those around him. But not everyone viewed him through the same lens, and as he prepared to return to society, dark forces conspired to ensure that his newfound freedom would be short-lived. Someone, it seemed, had other plans for Belmont, their motives shrouded in mystery and intrigue. As the countdown to his daughter's birthday party began, Belmont would find himself caught up in a deadly game of cat and mouse. The night of March 6, 2017, etched itself into the brutal history of Chicago's gang conflict. At 11:12 p.m., surveillance footage captured Kamari Belmont's departure from the confines of Cook County Jail, a fleeting glimpse of freedom cut short by the cruel hand of fate. As Belmont and his friend drove away from the jail complex in a blue sedan, little did they know that their journey would end in tragedy. Whilst at a red light mere moments from the jail complex, a white SUV pulled up alongside them, a harbinger of doom, its occupants concealed in the shadows of the night. With ruthless precision, two shooters unleashed a hail of gunfire from the driver's side and back seat, their intent clear and unmistakable. In a matter of seconds, Kamari Belmont's life was snuffed out, leaving behind a scene of carnage and despair. At 11:57 p.m., the Chicago Police Department descended upon the crime scene. They'd heard radio reports of at least two suspects, one wearing a black and red jacket, last being seen running down the street. The suspects had crashed their car, with the airbags having been deployed. Soon, CPD found Belmont lying lifeless in the street, his body riddled with multiple bullet wounds, a stark testament to the savageness of the attack. Upon interviewing the driver, it was learned that he had bailed when the shots rang out, deciding to hide in nearby bushes. Belmont had likely attempted to run as well, but had little chance of escape. As investigators worked the case, a chilling picture of the events began to emerge. 24 shell casings lay scattered around Belmont's body, each one a grim reminder of the violence that had unfolded. The blue sedan, its right passenger side perforated by 21 bullet holes, bore witness to the ferocity of the assault. Amidst the chaos, a glimmer of hope emerged in the form of eyewitness accounts and forensic evidence. Witnesses, though shaken by the ordeal, gave their perspectives of how everything played out. They recounted the chilling details of the attack, having seen the two cars pull parallel to each other at the traffic lights. Having witnesses was beneficial, as investigators could now work on gathering cellular data alongside DNA evidence, to begin piecing together who the suspects could be. Inside the crash suspect car, items of forensic importance were discovered. These included things such as a credit card, partially smoked cigarettes, water bottles, a Red Bull can, and a .45 caliber blue steel Sig Sauer pistol near the driver's side door. Even a Samsung cell phone was located near to the wreckage. Investigators learned that the suspect car had been rented on March 3. As the investigation gathered momentum, the shadow of gang violence loomed large over the case. Belmont, a member of the 4-6 terror faction of the Gangster Disciples, had long been locked in a bitter feud with the 051 Young Money faction of the Mickey Cobras, a rivalry steeped in bloodshed and retribution. As suspects were identified and leads pursued, the case took on a life of its own, unfolding against the backdrop of Chicago's unforgiving streets. Desmond Green, David Ajay, Kendrick Dorsey, and Ricky Anderson, names synonymous with 051 Young Money, emerged as prime suspects in the investigation. Furthermore, CPD suspected that at least 3 men were in a tail car being used to provide support for the shooters. The driver of this tail car is widely believed to be a man named Kurt Mack. Mack, who was close with 051 Young Money, would himself become a victim of homicide on June 27, 2017. The paperwork description lines up with it being him who was driving the tail car. The other 2 tail car offenders are much less identifiable, with their ages being the only thing shown. Despite the seeming mountain of evidence amassed by law enforcement, justice has yet to be handed down in this case. This is mostly down to the eyewitnesses, who suddenly became uncooperative. Let's face it, they are probably not going to take the stand against the suspects, pointing them out just to be labeled an informant or worse, risk the forever box. In a city where fear and intimidation thrives, the wheels of justice grounded to a halt, leaving Belmont's murder unsolved and his killers unpunished. Rest in peace to everyone mentioned in this video.